Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Red, White, and Bills. I am your host, Sean, and today we're going to talk about the 2024 Buffalo Bills offensive line and their expectations as well as realities. We're going to talk a little bit about what they did in 2023, how they finished, where they're starting in 2024, according to PFF, and what my expectations and realities are. Not anyone else out there, or you guys obviously formulate your own opinion. This is just what I think and what I expect from them. And as you guys know, I love the offensive line. I love to learn about the game more and more. It's one of my favorite positions to dissect and do film on. So again, if you haven't been with me last year, we do the all 22 film breakdown of just the offensive line. We don't talk about receivers, quarterback, anything like that, just the offensive line. We'll do that every single week, and we'll do every single play. We're not going to do only the good plays or only the bad plays to prove a point. We're going to break it down all piece by piece and go through it. So without further ado, let's get into, I know we don't have Mitch Morse anymore, but it'll all come into play for expectations. So starting five offensive linemen, obviously they all played every single game. You can't expect that to happen. Obviously, they came out, a couple of them, when we were blowing teams out to give them rest. But guys like Torrance played every single snap. And again, we were very lucky and fortunate. They were healthy the entire season. We can't bank on that happening every year. So we have to be keeping that in mind. But as far as sacks go, we give up the fewest amount of sacks with 12. And when they say only give up 12 sacks, PFF separates sacks that are credited to the offensive line and credited to running backs, tight ends, and what would be the quarterback's fault for a sack. So they gave up 12 sacks total. Dawkins had 1. McGovern gave up 2. Morse gave up 1. Torrance gave up 3. And Brown gave up 5. As far as quarterback hits go, Dawkins gave up 7. McGovern gave up 4. Morse gave up 2. Torrance gave up 3. And Brown gave up 5. Hurries, Dawkins gave up 26. McGovern gave up 17. Morse gave up 23. Torrance 34. Brown 30. Total pressures, Dawkins 34. McGovern 23. Morse 26, Torrance 40, Brown 40. So 12 sacks as a unit, 21 quarterback hits as a unit, 130 hurries, and 163 pressures as a unit. Now, again, we're bringing 4 of the 5 starters back. But if you just, obviously, we're not talking about film or breaking down film right now, but we saw in the film last year, McGovern wasn't as bad as people were trying to claim. He had an absolutely incredible season last year. Gave up the least amount of total pressures on the team with 23, 17 hurries, which is the least, 4 quarterback hits, which is the third least behind Torrance and Morris with 2 and 3. And as far as sacks go, he gave up 2, which again is near the best on the team. So definitely had an incredible season. He'll be at center now, and Mitch is gone. So now we're going to have to hope David Edwards can replicate what McGovern did. And in 2023, they had a pass block win rate of 64%, which was good for 6th in the league, and 7th in run block win rate at 72%. So my expectation, and also they were ranked 6th overall at the end of the season, according to PFF, for offensive line. So 6 out of 32, which is very, very, very good, considering that was always one of our weakest points. And again, we went through it week by week, proving all the false narratives that the offensive line isn't that good. Then people started to come around near the end of the season saying how great they were. So the work we did, obviously it might not have been the pivotal and people changing their mind, but that's why we do this, because we can't do anything without the offensive line, and they never got enough credit, and they deserved it last year. And, being 6th ranked overall, 6th in win rate for pass blocking, 7th for run blocking, that's my standard now. That was, elite play all across the season last year. And I know we're shifting it around, but this has to be the standard. Got to be top. I'll give them top 10 for win rate for pass blocking and run blocking as an expectation. Anything less than that is a complete system failure, considering 4 of the same 5 people were starting last year. And again, allowing the few sacks in 2023. People will say, oh, well, Josh Allen is the reason why the offensive line is good. Josh Allen's able to evade pressure better than anyone. Well, this 12 sacks that were accounted for, it already accounts for that. It takes those out of the equation, and these are just sacks that would be on the offensive line uh, in general. There's Allen got sacked more than 12 times, but that's because Allen holds on to the ball too long. That's because Allen runs into blocks and then gets sacked. That's because Allen takes off in a run before he gets to the line of scrimmage, and that's a sack because the offensive line cannot see behind them. So if Dawkins is blocking a wide nine technique and then Josh runs and tries to loop around him and he gets sacked, that's not Dawkins' fault because Dawkins is doing his job. It's Josh Allen's fault. So again, people can say all they want. Oh, Josh Allen masked the offensive line, makes them look better. I think if you want to talk about it, Allen makes the offensive line actually look worse because they take more sacks because of him. But luckily, PFF can separate what's the quarterback's fault and what's on the offensive line. So I like to stay around that mark. Give up 12 to 15 sacks as an expectation. Let me just write it down so we can refer back to it. So sacks in 2024, around 12 to, let's say 16. Quarterback hits was still pretty low at 21. We'll keep that between 20 and 25. Hurries was at 130. I want to see that go way down. So let's just say between 110 and 120 for hurries. And then total pressures was at 163. I want to see that at 120 to 130 as well. Again, Osiris Torrance, Spencer Brown, they're two of the biggest pieces of this O-line because last year they had a phenomenal season. Now, granted, they have to repeat that. Torrance was a rookie, played outstanding, had his rookie moments, but overall was a very good caliber starting right guard. He can regress, he can stay the same, or he can improve and get better. That's what we'll have to see from him. It's nothing's a guarantee, just like Spencer Brown. Yeah, he came off of he's finally not injured and got what everybody said the whole offseason with Aaron Cromer, and he improved. But that's still 1 out of 3 seasons where he played good football. He's into his 4th year now in a contract year. I want to see him replicate what he did last year, get those sacks down from 5 to like 2. And obviously he was still the weakest link of the line. And him and Torrance both need to continue to take that leap forward. And if they do that, because they were the biggest culprits for total pressures and hurries, then this offensive line will be even better. Again, McGovern, I think he still should have stayed at left guard because as you can see by the stats and when we did the film, he was phenomenal. And Dawkins had his best year as a pro as well. The least amount of sacks he's given up in his career before last year was 3. So, he improved dramatically next to a great guard. And I would have liked a better competition, Van Pran, Will Clapp, Anderson for center. And then you could have kept the 4 out of the 5 starters in their exact same position, and it could have been a lot better. But yeah, overall, you can't use health as an expectation because it is very rare to have your entire starting 5 start every single game and play every single snap. Granted, if you're blowing a team out or you're getting blown out, you would take your starters out. So besides that, it's kind of hard to expect them to continue to be 100% healthy all the time. But you would still love that. Again, remain in the top 10 for pass block win rate and run block win rate. They were ranked as of right now going into the 2024 season by PFF as the 8th best offensive line. So it's again, we were like 23rd to start 2023. We finished 6th. I expect, because I think David Edwards is a liability as a starter. So I expect a little bit of growing pains in the first few weeks, but we might get lucky because we're playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have maybe one good pass rusher at the moment, and the Dolphins, who they lost Bradley Chubb. He's on the pup. Christian Wilkins is not there, and Jalen Phillips is coming off an Achilles injury, so I'm assuming he's going to be on a snap count. So, we might seem a little bit better off the jump, but still expect some growing pains. But overall, I still expect this unit to be a top 10 unit. As we said, stay between 12 and 16 sacks, 20 25 hits, 110, 120 hurries, and get those pressures down between 120 and 130. That's my expectation. Now, the reality of the offensive line is, again, we can't expect them to be 100% healthy all the time. We can't expect them to start how they finished last year. And again, because of the shifting, McGovern's going to be center, had 100 snaps in the NFL at center. And again, David Edwards hasn't been a starter in a couple years. And the last time he was a starter was uninspiring at best. So again, the reality is it might not be the same right off the bat. And we can't expect also Spencer Brown and Torrance to be a guaranteed improvement from last year. They have to go out there and show it. It's what you want. That's an expectation, especially for young guys like them. But the reality is, it's not guaranteed. So we have to really focus on them and their development and their growth. And if they continued on that trajectory, then this is going to be even better than sixth offensive line last year. If David Edwards isn't a liability, which I think he will, and then again we have to see how Dawkins is going to be, because again, what people don't understand is now Dawkins has to worry about his job and he has to worry about what David Edwards is doing. He used to be able to count on McGovern. He's I don't got to worry about McGovern because I know where he's going to be. I know when he needs help and how he plays. Now Edwards is going to come in and screw everything up, and now Dawkins is going to have to relearn how he plays. And then if he keeps getting beat on his outside shade, then now Dawkins in his mind is going to be like, okay, well, I know I got my guy, but I know Edwards struggles with stunts, and I might have to lean more towards this way, and it might screw everything up. So again, expect a little bit of a downplaying for the first couple weeks, even though we're not playing great talent. But the reality is they could be a great unit, but nothing's a guarantee. They have to show that improvement that they had in the offseason, and they have to show that they put the work in, especially Torrance and Brown. And then if they do, definitely could be a top 10 unit. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this offensive line going into 2024. Who's your biggest wild card and who needs to produce? How do you feel about David Edwards and Connor McGovern and the development of Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We'll see you next time. Go Bills.